today's weed of the month, it's May's weed of the month, and we've got cudweed. It is not a pretty weed, and you can tell this time of year it's gotten pretty large. This is from my garden. So cudweed has a difficult name as well, and Alex has just pulled it up on the screen for you to see. Gamocheeta corotata. It's a mouthful. The name is about as pretty as the plant itself. So the common name is shiny cudweed. Also, it's called gray everlasting. So Gamocheeta corotata is there are a large group of cudweeds. So if you Google cudweed, you're going to come up with a bunch of stuff, and possibly even other genera that are not even really related to this group of plants. So there are several cudweeds that are native to North America. This one, actually, shiny cudweed, comes up from South America and is very common. So two other native cudweeds we have in the southeast are purple cudweed and wandering cudweed, and also rabbit tobacco. So rabbit tobacco is a completely different genus as well. I think it used to be a Gamocheeta as well. But the taxonomy is super confusing. There have been a lot of name changes. So we wrote a blog, it was in the email, in the May Tips email. So we're going to post this on our blog, and there's going to be links out to other sites, to some of the other related species, so you can look them up for yourself in your quest to figuring out the cudweed group of plants. But I personally think that there are enough similar characteristics that once you just, at the very least, identify it down to the cudweed level, you're doing great. You'll at least know what it is in your lawn or in your garden. And as the years go on and you keep observing the plants, you'll be able to sort it out better for yourself, and especially identify some of the ones that have, well, I'll get into that right now. These flowers, they're super ugly. This plant is in the aster family, but you can't tell that by looking at it. The flowers, the petals are they're almost the same color as the plant. So that an aster, you think of a sunflower, it's got those beautiful yellow, they're called ray flowers, and then in the center there's a disc of the fertile flowers. Cudweed has that on a minuscule level and very nondescript. It's about the color of the leaves and the stem, really. I'm looking at one right now. It's definitely an aster, but it's not a pretty one. So some other ID features for shiny cudweed are these very sturdy stems. They're very thick, they're round, they're silvery. They have a silvery sheen to most of them. And the leaves on the underside are silver. It's very distinctive. So it's called shiny cudweed because at the top it's bright green, shiny green, and when you flip the leaf over, it's gray green. Other cudweeds are more shiny or woolly and hairy throughout. So it's pretty easy to tell the shiny cudweed apart from the other ones. So it's a great one to start with. That's why we picked it. It's also super common, and you'll find it around your garden likely, or on the roadside, or very near if you ever go on walks in your neighborhood or natural areas. So let's see, I think I've covered all the talking points. So one more about the ID characteristic is this is a pretty big plant, and it was growing amongst a bunch of other weeds in a weedy patch. So when this is growing by itself, I've noticed that these stems start to flop down, and then they sort of bend at the tips so that they keep the flower head erect. So you might see it growing upright in a group or looking very different and laying flat down. Also, another distinctive feature is it grows in a rosette, just like the chickweed we talked about and the hairy bittercress. And that means it starts at one center point, then it radiates out all around. So this is a large plant. Later in the year, we also see in the garden a lot of smaller plants too. So they can start flowering when they're about a fifth of this size. So you can't necessarily go by size because it will appear and flower much smaller than this as well, with just a couple of stems and significantly shorter flowering as well. But it is likely shiny cudweed as well. So where does this plant grow? Like most weeds, And it was interesting, at dinner last night, we were discussing, well, the videographer asked us, what makes something a weed? And Paige, whom you just heard from, she said, it's a plant out of place. And that's it. You know, many of our weeds are useful or they're valued by other people, but it's out of place in your lawn. So we're here to help you to get it out of place or get it back in place or just away from your lawn. So this weed loves disturbed soil, just like the other weeds we've talked about the past couple of months. That follow people, human activity around. It's going to love roadsides. It's going to love new homes. It's going to love where you tear up the soil to plant new flower beds or vegetable beds, and also new lawns. It's going to be where the soil is disturbed for utilities put in, or fence lines, or even a new parking place. This plant is going to appear because it likes those disturbed soils. It also likes low fertility soils. So I'll get into that more under the prevention section. And like all the other weeds we've been talking about, there are some uses or benefits to them. And the hint is in the name, like it has been every month in Weed of the Month. Cudweed. That means that people chew this as chewing gum. And I was dared to do that today, and I'm not accepting that dare. I think this plant is just too ugly for me to try that first time on camera. But I will one day work up the nerve to do it. To me, it's like eating oysters. It's just not something I'm interested in doing. So, but in reading about this plant, I learned that it's an important host plant for the larva for the American lady butterfly. And I'd never heard of that butterfly, but in researching it, you know, I looked it up, I saw this beautiful butterfly. That very day, I saw my first American lady butterfly. So that did give me pause to think about the value of this plant for me in my landscape. So I don't want it in my lawn. I don't want it in my flower beds, but I have a lot of natural areas where it's okay. I'm just gonna let it be, and I'm gonna enjoy those butterflies as they float through my garden, because that's one of the happiest things of the summertime, I think. So one of our themes has been eat it or treat it. So, you know, chew it, maybe that is eating it. Enjoy it for the butterflies, or if you got to get it out of your lawn, we recommend 3 ways: prevention, manually removing, or chemically removing. I think one of the best ways is prevention. This is a winter annual, so you'll want to apply pre-emergent in September to prevent it from growing during the winter. Also, you mulch your flower beds, you mulch your vegetable garden. You also want to grow a great lawn. Keep it mowed, keep it fertilized, top dress it with compost. Get a thick lawn where these weeds can't find bare soil and germinate. Or you can increase your fertility. We just talked about, where does it grow? It grows in lean soils, malnourished soils. So if you've got a lawn, you fertilize it. Just keep on top of that. We recommend that anyway. If you have a centipede lawn, though, that is not going to be your best way to mitigate this plant. Centipede likes really low fertility. You can damage your centipede lawn, so we recommend mowing or the post-emergent or the pre-emergent as well. Now, the second mode is the manual removal, hand weed. When it's small, it's super easy to pull up. This is bigger. I had to get a shovel out to dig this up. For one, I wanted it intact for today. But manual, hand remove, shovel, and mowing. And the third way is the chemical way with the post-emergent. There are many 3-way products or 4-way products that will take care of that. It is it's pretty easy to get rid of. This is real past the time you'd ever want to treat with a chemical. It would just take too much. So I would mow it, and then you've still got plenty of leaves left to treat. But really, you should never see one this big in your lawn. It is way past time to deal with it at that point. You'll see them much smaller. Like I said, the flowers will be about half the size rather. So just remember cudweed and start your cudweed journey of learning about it. And that's a wrap for our Weed of the Month.